Lavelle, second question. Should the Twins, now I know full well he has clauses in his contract that would suggest this isn't going to happen, but should the Twins be exploring a Carlos Correa trade
I
this
know
offseason?
that came out a few weeks ago because Joel Sherman, who's a longtime baseball writer, columnist out of New York, approached Derek Falvey at the GM meetings and asked him about it. And of course, Falvey didn't help matters by saying, we always listen if someone has an idea they want to explore. So they got all the people dreaming, scheming about possible trades and how it would look. I still think this roster is good enough to compete and win the AL Central Division. Injuries have been an issue for the last 2 years. With Buxton, we've gotten used to it, unfortunately. With Correa, he was generally healthy with the Astros. So him having plantar fasciitis issues in each of the last 2 years is kind of hard for us to it's kind of hard to absorb that because we didn't see that coming from him. But when he's healthy, he's an excellent defensive shortstop, and he's reliable at the plate. If he goes to the Mets or the Yankees, he probably would have to play third base. I don't think that's the best position for him. While he has the arm to play third, he does not have the offense of a prototypical third baseman. He was going to play third when the Mets were exploring signing him a few years ago before they got scared by the medicals. So you'd have to go through all that again. What would the contract look? Would Carlos demand a contract extension / renegotiation as a condition of him waiving his no trade? I think there's a lot of hurdles here. I think the Twins are better off holding on to Carlos Correa, crossing their fingers that there's going to be a healthier season in 2025, and trying to find some pieces to fill out the roster to make it even stronger. But I just think you look at the talent that the Twins have, you would seriously be taking it down a notch by moving Correa, and that's not worth it because this roster can win. I know what last year looked like the last 39 games. This roster can win.
I'm concerned more. Correa, when he's healthy, fantastic player, right? Like he was showing that for 3-4 months last year before plantar fasciitis caught up to him again. Like he is, when healthy, he's generally their best all-around player. No doubt about that. And he's being paid as such. My problem is he was signed here when payroll projections were much different. They had the payroll up around 160 million. You imagined that maybe that would be kind of the baseline, or they'd kind of keep growing with whatever the pace is, inflation, stuff like that, keep bumping it up by 5 million a year. Instead, they slashed it by 30 million, 35 million last year. Hey, that's basically Carlos Correa's salary, by the way. And it's not going to go up this year. Like everybody on their roster right now, you count the arbitration guys, you count all the guys they have on the roster, you kind of get to 130 pretty fast. Like, how is this team going to get better? So you look at it and you say, subtract that money. Yeah, you've got to subtract that player, but it gets a lot more. You get a lot more flexibility if you're able to do that. I don't want to see him go. I just don't know how he fits into their current payroll scheme.
Yeah, it's difficult to justify a roster when one player is making 20% of the payroll. And when you combine Buxton with Correa, those two guys are really eating up a chunk of the salary. And you could also toss Pablo Lopez.
Pablo next year too, yeah.
But I would keep Pablo, no doubt. I mean, he was mentioned too. The Twins have enough trouble trying to round out a starting rotation this past season to let their best starting pitcher go. So I hear what you're saying from a payroll structure standpoint, may be a little dangerous. You would like to think that maybe the Poets just may say, screw it, we'll just push it to 140. But I don't think they're going to do that while they're exploring a sell of the team. So basically, I guess we're saying the Twins are screwed. Basically, that's where we're headed with this.
Well, I mean, you're saying they can compete. I don't know. I mean, obviously, they were in a position last year until the last 6 weeks that they looked like they were going to win the AL Central again. I don't know. It depends on which version of this team you think is the real version. Do you think it was the team that played so well for 4 months after that bad start and before that bad finish? Or do you think that was more of the mirage, or at least it's closer to a 500 team than a competitive team? I kind of tend towards the latter, but if they're healthy, and we've seen a lot of teams that kind of fall into that category, if they're healthy, have succeeded lately, they can compete, but they're kind of fragile right now, I think.
Yeah, they are. But before those last 39 games, they were handling the injury to Joe Ryan and Chris Paddock very well, even though they had to get really young at the end of the year, and they were like using Zebby Matthews and David Festa for 3 or 4 innings for running them out there. I thought Rocco did as well as he could, juggling their rotation and trying to get the most that he could out of the youngsters. But it seemed like there was just everything just kind of fell apart because they lacked depth. They couldn't absorb many more blows from a health standpoint, and it all just came crashing down. And I just can't see that duplicating itself a second consecutive year. So how do you keep as many of these guys as you can while being mindful of the payroll and having a round out a roster? I don't know, but I don't want to trade Carlos. I just don't.
Yeah, it's all moot if he doesn't want to go. I guess maybe the final question to this before we move to their last subject is, if you're Carlos Correa, are you interested in potentially going somewhere else? Are you looking at this and saying it's going to get worse before it gets better? I don't know if I want to go through whatever version of rebuilding on the fly this is, or kind of trying to compete still. Do you think he would be interested in it versus just the Twins potentially exploring it if the phone rang?
If he could go to a situation where it's a better chance for him to win, I bet you he would consider it. And I think the Mets and Yankees are in that position more than the Twins are right now. Although, once again, I still think, it's relative. Twins competing in the division versus actually making a run at a World Series title are two different things. The Mets and Yankees are in a better spot in that regard. So
yes,
I think he would consider that if it was presented to him.